Well, Mcfarlane has smoked a crack. That's for damn sure. Now, I'm sure, just like me, you guys have probably been inundated with videos in the last 24 hours about Mcfarlane's new price hikes on its new wave of DC Multiverse figures. So I will try to keep this short and sweet, but I felt the need to say something and put something out there because it's kind of insane and it's kind of ridiculous. So Mcfarlane dropped a new wave of figures. And we got Superman, we got Spectre, we got a few others. I'll be honest, I don't even remember. And I do just want to preface this by saying I am going to have a bias in this video because I kind of have walked away a little bit, or actually a lot, from Mcfarlane because they just weren't really doing anything for me anymore. And there's a lot to that, and I could do a whole video on that. But really, with the exception of Superman figures and Joker figures, I've kind of lost interest in Mcfarlane's stuff. You know, if I want decent DC figures, I'll pay the extra money to go to Mezco. And, you know, the other side of that is I'm also a much bigger Marvel fan than I am a DC fan. So, again, my bias will show where there are going to be times where I am more willing to put up with price hikes and things like that, let's say from Hasbro, because I enjoy those characters more because they have Marvel than I would be from Mcfarlane. So I freely admit that, okay? I'm not trying to hide any bias here or anything like that. I like Marvel characters more than I like DC characters. But, you know, still some DC characters, some figures I do want to pick up. And we've got this new wave coming out at $39.99 a piece, and it is just insane pricing for what you are getting from Mcfarlane. Again, I was already disappointed in Mcfarlane as far as quality, as far as sculpt and paint, things like that, at the $25 price tag. And then again, there are a few other things going on there with Mcfarlane as a company that I wasn't really happy with, that got me to kind of step back and walk away and basically say, you know what, unless it's Superman or Joker, I'm not really interested. But now, going from 25 to 40, that's insane. And let's not forget that at the beginning of 2023, okay, January 2023, 1 year ago, okay, every figure Mcfarlane was putting out was still $19.99. It was $20. Then very shortly, it went from $20 to, well, some figures are $25, to, well, now all figures are $25, to, well, now there's some special editions that you can get on the Mcfarlane Toy Store, or gold label editions or things like that, that are $30, $29.99. And now, of course, a year later, we've gone from 20 to 40. Now, of course, Mcfarlane put out this whole video, which I watched, and honestly, he just danced around the question. But from the gist of it, it does seem like $40 is not going to be the new price for Mcfarlane figures, and I don't think he would have been stupid enough to do that anyway. But I think he saw that people took the jump from 20 to 25. People were willing to take the special editions at 30. And now he's trying this wave at $40. And even though I don't think this price is going to stick, you can be damn sure that if he sells out of these figures at 40 bucks a piece, okay, your standard price for Mcfarlane toys ain't going to be $25 anymore. That's for damn sure, okay? Because he's going to use that as a reason to bump up his prices. And I get it. It's a business decision. And maybe it's a smart one. But as a collector, are you going to take it? I don't know. That's up to you. And look, hey, I'm never going to encourage anybody to not buy something they want. Buy whatever you want. If you're a huge Mcfarlane fan, cool, good for you. If it's worth the money to you, awesome. Obviously, it's not to me, but I had already made that decision. But just to kind of further just drive this point home, I do want to do a comparison between what now appear to be the two companies operating in this space of the close to $40 price tag. And that is, well, apparently now Mcfarlane and NECA. And when you look at NECA and the types of figures they are putting out, it just puts Mcfarlane to shame. I mean, NECA figures were already better than Mcfarlane figures as far as I was concerned. if NECA is running their average price of $37 and Mcfarlane's running $25, I think NECA's already a better choice. In fact, if there was a Superman figure from NECA at $37 and a Superman figure from Mcfarlane at $25, I'd much rather have the NECA figure, because sculpt and paint and all these things are just better with NECA figures, and you can see this in everything they put out, whether it's their Universal Monsters line, whether it's their Predator stuff, their Alien stuff, their Horror Maniacs, is that what it's called? I don't know, where they put out all the horror figures, their TMNT line, their Gargoyles line. $37 for these figures that are just on point. And I'm not a huge NECA collector. I have a few, but even I, as a fan of what NECA's been doing, and they did have a rough start going back about 15 years or so, but they've really straightened up a lot in the last few years. And being a fan, even I don't collect all their stuff. And I love some of the lines, but at $37 a piece, I am much more careful with what I am going to buy. But even so, they're still better than Mcfarlane figures. And if you look at this new wave of $40 figures, these are no way to be compared to anything NECA's doing. I mean, the sculpt, the paint, the accessories, the packaging, the overall presentation, everything across the board is 10 times better with NECA than anything Mcfarlane's doing, and yet now he's dropping figures at roughly $2 more a figure at the $40 price point, keeping in mind that $40 is twice what he was charging for his figures a year ago. It's absolutely insane, like across the board insane. It doesn't make any sense on any level why anybody could reasonably look at this and say, oh, that makes sense, because there's no way in hell this makes sense. And I've heard all the little, Mcfarlane defenders, oh, Uncle Todd this, Uncle Todd that, defending him and talking about tooling and all this stuff like that, and how much it costs to produce new figures. Okay, let's keep in mind, again, we're going to stick to that NECA comparison here, okay? First of all, NECA is a smaller company than Mcfarlane, okay? I don't care how you cut it. They just are, okay? They're a smaller company, they produce less figures, so they're going to have higher costs to do the things they do, and they come out with brand new sculpts and molds and all this stuff all the time for figures that look absolutely freaking amazing. Okay? Just 100% across the board. In fact, if you go back to the most recent year that you can look at both Mcfarlane Toys and NECA, their revenue, which is 2022. In 2022, NECA generated roughly $10 million in revenue. Mcfarlane generated roughly $20 million in revenue. So just in revenue alone, Mcfarlane is twice the size of NECA. They also have a bigger distribution model. They have better logistics. They have better access to manufacturing because they're a bigger company. And you're telling me that Mcfarlane couldn't figure out a way to do this one quote-unquote special wave for cheaper than $40 a figure? No, it's absolute bullshit across the board. This is being used as a test to see if they can charge considerably more for their figures and laying out a business model to go to online only. That's my personal opinion, but I think that's what we're seeing here. If they can offer figures, at least let's say half of their roster of figures they're going to put out in a year, and offer them as online exclusives, will people pay more money for them? They delved into this a little bit earlier in 2023 when they dropped all those figures for $29.99 a piece. They had success with that. Those things sold out like crazy. Now they want to see, well, can we push it a little bit more? That way we can still throw $25 figures, maybe, out at retail, but then we can have some $30, $35, maybe even $40 figures that are exclusive to us, or maybe some other partners in online retailing that we get to kind of choose. And we can make even more money by offering things like, I don't know, just a regular classic Superman that everybody's been asking for 4 years from this company, which, by the way, still doesn't look good. I'm sorry, have you seen that Superman figure? Have you seen the head sculpt on that Superman figure? I'm a huge Superman fan. Even if that thing was $25, I wouldn't have bought that piece of crap. That's for damn sure. That thing is hideous. But this is what they're doing. They're testing the waters. And again, I'm not saying don't buy this stuff. If you want to go buy the whole wave, awesome. In fact, I hear if you buy the whole wave, they're a lot cheaper than 40 bucks a figure. They go down to roughly about $27 a figure, which is still a bit of a price jump, but much more manageable. But if you're buying these figures one by one, I've seen multiple people posting online their cart when they're about ready to pay. And these figures, after you've paid for tax and shipping, depending on where you live, you're paying roughly $50 a figure for these less than stellar Mcfarlane figures. Hey, if you want to do it, by all means go ahead. But just understand what Mcfarlane is doing here is testing the waters to jack up their prices across the board and offer the figures that collectors have been clamoring for since he first got the license in exclusive deals, either at his online retail store or at others who he chooses, and they're going to offer it for jacked up prices. That's what's going to happen here if these figures sell out. So again, I don't really have a dog in this fight anymore because I had already walked away from Mcfarlane. But these prices are absolutely insane for the quality of products you are getting out of Mcfarlane. Again, I didn't even like it when we went from 20 to 25, but at $40, twice the price we were 12 months ago, absolute insanity. And as I said at the beginning of this video, absolute proof that Mcfarlane is smoking some of that good stuff.